Journey to the West in Vernacular Chapter 13, Killing Monsters and Rescuing the Princess in Baoxiang Kingdom. After Sun Wukong returned to Huaguo Mountain, Tang Monk continued to walk to the west under the protection of Bajie and Shaseng. One day, they came to a black pine forest. Tang Monk was hungry and asked Zhu Bajie to go to Huatsai. Zhu Bajie searched for a long time but couldn't find the house. When he was tired, he sat down in the grass to rest and fell asleep without knowing it. Tang Monk waited and waited, but did not see Bajie coming back, so he asked Sha Monk to find him. He sat alone in the pine forest. After a long time, he felt sleepy and tired, so he stood up and walked around, but he didn't expect to go in the wrong direction. After crossing the road, we came to a golden pagoda. Tang Monk saw a bamboo curtain hanging on the door of the pagoda, so he opened the curtain and looked inside. He was surprised to see a monster lying on the stone bed in the pagoda. As soon as Tang Monk was caught by the monster, Bajie and Shaseng came to the Boiwi Cave in Wanzi Mountain where the monster lived. It turned out that after Sha Monk found the sleeping Bajie, the two returned to the village but could not find the master, so they led the horse and carried the burden to find him all the way. As soon as they saw it, they concluded that it was a demon cave. Without saying a word, Bajie went to smash the door with a rake. The old yellow-robed monster heard the banging on the door and ran out, and started fighting with Bajie and Shaseng. At this time, Tang Monk, who was tied up in the cave, saw a woman coming to him and asked him where he came from. Tang Seng saw that she didn't look like a monster, so he told him the truth. The woman told Tang Seng that she was the third princess of Baoxiang Kingdom, not far away. Her name was Bai Huaxi, and she had been snatched by the monster as his wife for 13 years. Bai Huaxi agreed to rescue Tang Seng, but there was one condition. Tang Seng had to bring a letter to the king of Baoxiang Kingdom, and Tang Seng agreed wholeheartedly. So Bai Huaxi wrote a letter, untied Tang Monk, took him out of the cave through the back door, and told him to hide in the grass temporarily until the yellow-robed monster returned to the cave to find his apprentice, and then left quickly. Here, Bai Huaxi returned to the cave, deliberately opened the back door, messed up her clothes and hair, ran to the door, and shouted to the fighting yellow-robed monster, "Oh no, the Tang Dynasty monk used magic to untie the rope. Escaped through the back door." The yellow-robed monster was shocked when he heard this, and quickly got off the cloud and returned to the cave. At this time, Bai Huaxi pretended to be fainted again, so that the yellow-robed monster could not care about chasing Tang Monk. Tang Seng took the opportunity to find Bajie and Shaseng, and traveled overnight to Baoxiang Kingdom and stayed at an inn. The next day, Tang Monk went to seeking Baoxiang alone. He waited until the guan was changed before presenting Bai Huaxi's letter. After reading the letter, the king burst into tears and asked Monk Tang to catch the monster. Tang Seng had no choice but to tell Bajie and Shaseng. So, the king sent people to the inn to ask Bajie and Shaseng to catch the monster together. Bajie agreed without caring whether he could do it or not. In order to show his ability, he turned into a giant 8 or 9 feet tall. When Sha Monk saw it, he had no choice but to accompany him. The two came to the Boiwi Cave. Bajie raised a rake and made a big hole in the cave door with one rake. The yellow-robed monster was so angry when he saw it that he came out to fight with a knife. When he learned that King Baoxiang had sent them, he became even angrier and fought harder and harder. Gradually, Zhu Bajie couldn't keep up with his physical strength, so he sneaked away on the pretext of needing to pee. Sha Monk was unable to defeat the yellow-robed monster on his own, and was caught by the old monster in a cave. The yellow-robed monster returned to the cave and in front of Monk Sha, asked Bai Huaxi if he had colluded with Monk Tang. Sha Seng said that they saw the portrait of the third princess of Baoxiang Kingdom. The yellow-robed monster heard what Sha Seng said, made sense, and quickly apologized to Bai Huaxi. In order to retaliate against Tang Monk, he turned into a handsome scholar and came to seeking Baoxiang. He said that he was a hunter and encountered a tiger carrying a girl while hunting 13 years ago. He rescued the girl and got married. I just recently found out that the girl is the third princess, and she came here specifically to recognize her. Then he said that the tiger had now become a spirit, pretending to be a Buddhist monk from the Tang Dynasty and harming people everywhere. As he said that, he used a spell to turn Tang Monk into a tiger. The king was frightened half to death, and several brave warriors stepped forward to lock the tiger and lock it in an iron cage. The king was very happy and ordered a 3-day banquet to thank the 3 princes. The story about Tang Monk turning into a tiger spirit spread quickly. Bai Longma heard the officers and soldiers talking, and knew that the master was framed by a monster. At the third watch, it turned into a little white dragon and flew to the palace. It happened to see the yellow-robed monster grabbing a palace maid who was serving him and eating it. It transformed into a palace maid and wanted to take the opportunity to kill the monster while serving wine. When Zhao Beilong waited for the yellow-robed monster to reach for the wine, he suddenly pulled out the big knife from the monster's waist and chopped it with all his strength. The monster was indeed very powerful, and he fought with Zhao Beilong with his bare hands. They fought from inside to outside the room, and then jumped into the air to fight. As time went by, the little white dragon gradually became no match. His hind legs were injured by the monster, and he hurriedly got into the Yushui River. In the middle of the night, Zhu Bajie returned to the inn and could not find his master and Shaseng. He only saw the white dragon horse lying in the horse pen. Bai Longma spoke and told Zhu Bajie what happened today, asking Bajie to ask senior brother Wukong to come back and save the master. At first, Bajie was afraid that Wukong would blame him, so he didn't dare to go. Later, he agreed after Baima's repeated persuasion. Bajie quickly arrived at Huaguo Mountain in the clouds. At first, Wukong pretended not to recognize him and raised his stick to hit him. Zhu Bajie was so frightened that he started to cry. Wukong then showed a smile and invited Bajie to the water curtain cave to entertain him. Bajie told Wukong about his master's death and begged him to rescue his master. Wukong thought for a long time and finally agreed. Wukong and Bajie arrived in front of Boiwi Cave in a cloud. They first caught the two sons of the yellow-robed monster on the top of the mountain, lured Bai Huaxi and asked Bai Huaxian to release Sha Monk quickly. After Bai Huaxian released Sha Seng, Wukong asked her and the two children to hide, then plucked out two Velas hairs and used magic to turn them into the two children of monsters. Bajie and Sha Seng followed Wukong's idea and took the two fake children to the sky above the palace. They shouted loudly, "Yellow-robed monster, give me your children." They threw the two fake children to the ground and fell to death under the steps. The yellow-robed monster ran out and saw that his child had been thrown to death, and Zhu Bajie and Sha Seng were standing on top of the clouds, and he couldn't help but feel angry. The yellow-robed monster hurriedly ran to the cave and saw Bai Huaxi crying for her child. When he saw the yellow-robed monster, he cried loudly and even fainted. The monster quickly helped Bai Huaxi opened his mouth, spit out an egg-sized relic elixir, and asked Bai Huaxi to rub it on the painful area. Before the monster finished speaking, Bai Huaxi snatched it and swallowed it. It turned out that the flower shame was transformed by Wukong. When the monster saw Wukong's true face, he recognized him as the Monkey King who made trouble in the Heavenly Palace 500 years ago. He was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat and quickly ordered the little monsters to kill Wukong. Surround. Wukong did not panic, and turned into a giant with 3 heads and 6 arms, waving 3 golden hoops in his hand, and struck out of the cave. Sun Wukong felt as if he was in a deserted place, and quickly killed all the little monsters. The monster was also anxious, escaped from the cave, jumped into the clouds, and transformed into 3 heads and 6 arms, and fought with Wukong desperately. Wukong deliberately showed a flaw, and the monster didn't know it was a trick, so Wukong hit him on the head. Unexpectedly, with a squeak, it disappeared without a trace. Sun Wukong searched everywhere but couldn't find the monster, so he ran to the Heavenly Palace and asked the Jade Emperor to help him check it out. The Heavenly Master was ordered to search all the gods in the sky, and finally discovered that it had been 13 days since Kui Mulang left the sky privately in the 28 constellations. So, the Jade Emperor ordered the other 27 constellations to go down to the mortal world to capture Kui Mulang. The yellow-robed monster turned out to be Kui Mulang. After the Jade Emperor received him in the Heavenly Palace, he was punished by the Jade Emperor to burn fire and make elixirs for Taisheng Laojun. Wukong returned to the kingdom of Baoxiang and came to the master, who had turned into a tiger. When he saw the master's face full of tears, and knew that the master had realized his mistake, his heart softened. He asked someone to get clean water, took a sip and recited a spell, sprayed towards Tang Monk. Tang Seng finally recovered his original shape. In order to thank Tang Monk and his apprentices for exterminating monsters and rescuing the princess, the king of Baoxiang Kingdom prepared sumptuous food for them and entertained them. The next day, when Tang Monk left, the king personally led all the civil and military officials to the suburbs before saying goodbye to them reluctantly. Wukong returned to Tang Seng and protected his master as he continued westward. Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.